Well, that sound right there reminds me of being back home on our homestead. And we're not today. We are about 3 hours away in another yurt. Staying the night. We just stayed a night. Had an enjoyable evening here in this yurt away from our yurt. And Lacey's over here getting ready. Getting ready for today in an interesting way. What's got going on there?
I'm using my phone so I can put my makeup on because there aren't any mirrors.
Innovative. That's the heart of a homesteader, right? Innovative and
We always
resourceful.
say you just gotta use what you have. This is what I have.
That is right. And we really enjoyed our evening here. It really has been like home, really peaceful, and this really is a nice yurt. This yurt here is the main living quarters. It has where we slept and the bed over there, a nice wood stove that kept us warm, and a kitchen area over here with the sink and a stove and a small refrigerator. And then just on the back side there is the bathhouse, and it's really neat. The compost toilet, the shower, things like that. It's really nice and cozy. So if you've never stayed in a yurt, I recommend trying it out. It's a really neat experience. So we were just talking last night, and we were talking about how for most people staying in a yurt would be a unique experience.
Different.
But for us it really wasn't. It hasn't been much different.
It was unique and it's just laid out different, and it's nice to see how other people do it. But yeah, it was a little bit of the same.
It's also really neat, as Lacie said, seeing how people do their yurt, and you almost get some ideas, especially as we're renovating ours, some of the things we might tweak and change. But this morning, it's that sound you hear, it's rain. And it sounds just like at our house. We hear the rain on top of the roof of our yurt. But we are here at Dirtcraft Organics, and they make potting mixes that they sell to the public. And they also have a homestead here on site. But I look forward to seeing their operation. Oh look, we got a friend.
Hey, Linda.
Look at there, we got a friend.
Hey.
You got a friend there.
Hey.
So right now it looks like they're loading up a customer with potting mix. So it's like they're getting a number of bags here. I'm digging your Kubota there.
Yeah.
So you just got a customer loaded up?
Yep, just loaded up first customer in the morning.
Okay.
Probably a few more today.
Sweet. You have customers come from kind of all over? Come get potting mixes from you?
Yeah, we have customers driving from surprisingly far away distances, but for the most part we'll deliver.
Okay.
We'll deliver up to 100 miles away from Asheville, and then
There we go.
on our own trucks, and then on third-party trucks if they're further away. We've had folks all the way drive up all the way from Florida.
Wow. Florida.
We deliver truckloads over the eastern part of the state, and then up north as well. So.
There we go. And I've made my own potting mix before, but when I've used yours, it's the best that I have ever used.
Good.
So I can see why they would
Awesome.
want to go.
Yep.
So you getting ready to make some more?
Yeah, we're gonna mix a batch. Over here is where we mix up our base recipe, and then from this bay it goes into the mixer where we'll add the fertilizers that go into each different blend.
Okay, sweet. Look forward to seeing it.
So he's adding extra perlite right now. This is what we're blending up right now is our gravity high velocity mix. Cocoa, coir, and compost based soil mix that we primarily sell to hemp growers. So hemp likes lots of good drainage, doesn't like wet feet, so we're adding extra perlite. So as the mixer goes, we're adding in all the organic fertilizers that are in this mix. There's a feather meal, which is a slow release nitrogen source. Crab meal, which is both a calcium source as well as another nitrogen source. High chitin. Gypsum, diatomaceous clay ingredient, which is both a pest preventative as well as boost the CEC in the soil. Bone meal for both phosphorus and calcium. I think that's all that goes in that mix.
So how many different mixes do you offer for sale to the public?
We have 3 stock mixes that we mostly sell, but then in addition to that we have lots of custom order that we do, as well as like some special order items that we'll mix, that we have our recipes that we'll mix on hand as needed. For the most part, that's our seed starting mix. It's the levitation seedling mix. Our gravity growers mix, it's our all-purpose mix. That's the one that we initially started with. It was designed for soil blocking, but we also have folks using it for everything from raised beds to container gardening to indoor potted plants.
Okay.
And then we have our high porosity mix, which is a variation on that mix specific for hemp, so there's a lot more ingredients to it.
Which of your mixes would you say is your best seller? Do you have one?
It really depends on the time of year. Right now it's March, so we're selling a lot of seed starting mix.
Okay.
Later, as we head into May, we'll be selling a lot of the hemp mix.
Okay. So with the hemp market exploding, I bet that's probably increasingly being popular for you right now. People growing more and more hemp.
Absolutely. I mean, I started as a vegetable grower, but the hemp has really exploded in North Carolina and the whole region as a whole, as it just becomes more and more acceptable, and it's a great crop for farmers. You know, we have several growers who have done really well this past season.
So the last customer you just had, which potting mix did he just pick up?
He just picked up the gravity high porosity.
Okay.
Which is the hemp mix I was talking about earlier.
All right.
That's certainly for someone growing hemp in a greenhouse environment in containers. That's really what that mix was designed for.
All right.
We have about 20 different retailers, mostly in North Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia.
Okay.
But for the most, and that's these bags here, the 1.5 cubic foot bags that we sell to retailers. But for the most part, we sell these bulk totes because it's really the best value for a farmer, and we do a lot of wholesale direct to farmers. So, you know, you're not paying us the extra labor to put it in a bag and extra materials that are going to end up in the landfill. These totes are really a great deal for someone who is going to be filling up a whole greenhouse or starting a whole lot of starts.
And what would be the advantage of going with the potting mixes that you make versus just trying to make your own? I've known a number of farmers who used to make their own, and I have it as well. But for me, I would think the biggest thing would be the efficiency of getting somebody who is doing it and really able to really refine the mixes and make really high quality mixes. But what would you say it would be some advantages of getting some mix from you guys?
Yeah, the consistency for sure. Because at the scale that we're at, we're still small enough that we can do a craft batch mix and we can really pay attention to the details of keeping to that recipe. But also our sourcing, being able to bring in the right ingredients and keep those costs down for folks. yeah, I know lots of growers who have blended their own at small scales, and after a few seasons, I think it gets old. And if there's a better product out there,
Yeah.
growers are happy to use it. The problem has been that a lot of bagged potting soils that are available are kind of just these inert mixes that often are using manure-based fertilizers that can have challenges to them, or they're just kind of your peat and perlite.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of nutrients
Yeah.
to them, and so then you end up with having to do a pretty complicated feeding regimen to it.
Yeah.
And for a lot of farmers, they want to keep it simple.
Yeah.
And so when you have a good soil to begin with, you're able to spend more time focusing on all the other
Yeah.
aspects
Yeah.
of running your operation.
And that's one of the things that I've noticed is trying to change the flow of your workflow of focusing on growing to making your own mix when you
It could be a distraction.
it's distraction. Yeah. And it takes away from the efficiency of what you really need to be focusing your time on doing.
And really, the product we're offering is different from a lot of what's out there. We do not use peat in any of our mixes.
Okay.
It's a coconut coir base.
Okay.
And we blend a higher percentage of compost in our mixes than almost any other product you're going to find out there. And so the benefits to that are, with the cocoa, not having to water nearly as often. Cocoa reaccepts water. It doesn't shrivel up and dry up like in a seedling flat cell, like you may have observed peat mixes.
Oh yeah,
can do.
definitely.
That allows the biology to stay alive, which means that the nutrients are plant available throughout the cycle, but it also because we're adding so much more compost, we really promote ourselves as a living soil.
Got you.
It's not a sterilized product that just has a synthetic starter feeder package to it.
Yeah.
We're adding single source meals to everything. So you're talking feather meal, bone meal, crab meal. These are literally just raw ingredients that are plant and microbe foods.
And just jam-packed with nutrients and micronutrients for and microorganisms as well.
Yep.
Recycled billboard sign looks like. I use those.
So we buy in an organic compost. It's actually the only OMRI certified organic compost produced in the state. It's made from pre-consumer food waste. So this is, you're talking like a trash compactor of lettuce heads and fish guts mixed with wood chips in order to break down into that good organic compost. You can see it's full of beneficial living organisms. That's how it comes to us. And now for certain mixes, that's perfectly fine, and for others we have to further screen it. And so this screener here behind me is a vibrating screener that we can load with the tractor, and we can separate out the really fine, almost like a compost concentrate, and that's what ends up going into all of our seed starting mixes, whereas these slightly bigger chips would not be great in like a small cell tray.
Oh
That
yeah,
can become a problem.
totally see the difference there.
Yep.
And then wow, that's just so much looser.
Exactly. So this is the coconut coir that we use.
Okay.
It's literally a byproduct from the coconut industry. All the short fibers, they grind up the husk, and it's a great medium. For a long time, people, the Dutch really kind of innovated using this as a growing medium, and for a long time people were a little against it because it could be high in salts. In recent years, the quality of cocoa has gotten significantly better, and we actually spent about a year and a half trialing every different cocoa variety out there to find one that we like so that we could then buy it in by the container load.
So, like, where do you get your cocoa from?
We actually import it from India.
Okay.
There's a big coconut industry there where it is a byproduct, and essentially what they do is they lay it out on slabs, let it get rained on for the entire monsoon season, and then they dry it out on slabs, test it for salts, compress it into blocks, and ship it out. And then we bring in a pallet at a time in this bay under sprinklers, water it down, and it will expand like 5 to 1. So one pallet will turn into almost 20 cubic yards as we fluff it with the tractor and water it down.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. So what goes on right here?
This is where we mix the base recipe. So,
Okay.
Our gravity mixes have this base recipe, which is the compost, the cocoa, the perlite, and the pine bark.
Okay.
It's basically no fertilizers added at this point.
Okay.
So from here it goes into the mixer for the final mixing, where we make sure everything's very well mixed.
Okay.
And for our seed starting mix, we have a different base recipe
Okay.
that varies slightly.
Adam's Dirtcraft Organics company has produced thousands of pounds of potting mixes for homesteaders and farmers in the region. But not only does Adam run a successful company here on this site, he also operates a family homestead here with chickens, a greenhouse, oh yeah, and the yurt that we stayed in. But here in this greenhouse, he produces food for himself and his family.
We have a friend who has a flower farm and is a florist in town, and she always buys too many bulbs and gives us some, and because we have the greenhouse, we'll grow a few extra just to bring to the market. And
That's cool.
they're pretty. They're the first blooming flower.
Got some spinach and kale, and looks good in here.
Yeah, these garden beds have kind of been the recipient of 2+ years of doing potting soil trials.
Really?
As we developed the recipes before we started the company, we would mix a batch, send it to the lab, grow out a few seedling flats, and then we'd dump the rest in these beds.
There we go.
Over time they just become pretty lush. But
And this is mostly stuff your family eats?
yeah, this is just our personal garden.
There we go. So what else are you growing on the property here? I thought I saw some berry bushes and
Yeah,
some
we
fruit
have
trees.
a 16-acre homestead here in Marshall, so we do a little of everything for ourselves. We'll usually grow a lot of garlic and sweet potatoes and tomatoes and squash. You know, all your summer garden staples. And then in here, we usually have a pretty good winter garden where we're doing lettuces and brassicas and all of that. And then we have berries, fruit trees. We raised pigs a few years ago. We have chickens.
There we go.
Talking about getting a cow this year. See if it happens. Yeah.
So how is it homesteading here and running your business here at the same time? Does that make it life a little easier sometimes?
It has its pros and cons. It's great to spend a lot more time here and not have to, leave the farm every day.
Yeah.
Other, little things get done during the day, which is great. It can be a challenge, to work from home. I'm sure you.
I totally know what you mean.
That balance is hard to find sometimes.
Yeah. Because sometimes
Sure.
people see you at home and they think that you're in work mode, and
hanging
they think that you're just there hanging out.
Yeah.
So Adam, this is a pretty neat setup you got here in this greenhouse. How long have you had this set up?
We've had this greenhouse for about 3 years,
Okay.
and we spend a lot of time in here as a family, especially in the winter, and then just growing our own food in these 9 beds. Do a little bit of everything.
So what inspired you to start growing your own food?
Let's see. I started as a idealistic 20-something person, just working on organic farms, and eventually help start a non-profit urban farm. This was in the greater DC area.
Okay.
Probably a good 10 years ago or so. And we were growing in high tunnels for restaurants and farmers markets and teaching workshops and doing the whole urban farming nonprofit thing. And from there I really dove down the rabbit hole of healthy soil, and healthy soil being the foundation of growing food in organic agriculture. And I had an opportunity with a buddy to help start a compost company. And so because at the time we were actually, this was right about when home compost pickup first became a thing. People were picking up 5-gallon buckets of food scraps at people's homes, and then they would bring it to our urban farm, and we would compost it there. And we would teach workshops on composting, and from there we realized the scale of the food waste was so much greater than people's 5-gallon buckets at home. It was the industrial food waste that was happening, and all up and down the food chain. And so we opened a facility in the Baltimore area where we were just taking in trash compactors of food waste from grocery stores and food processors and restaurants and hotels, and did that for several years, producing compost soil amendments for farmers and landscapers, and got in. And that's when I kind of really realized the benefit and need for soil blending and potting soils, and kind of the demand that was there for that. And I had a bit of a sidetrack where I started a greenhouse construction company, and I built a lot of greenhouses for a couple of years in the interim while I kind of figured out what it would look like to start a compost or a potting soil business. And that's about the time we moved down to North Carolina and bought this homestead, and started raising a family and growing food. There we go.
So having that background, that sets you up to have the experience and learn all the different things you needed to learn to eventually set up Dirtcraft Organics here.
Yep, it's definitely been an evolution.
That's great. That's great. And how many years have you been in business now?
This is our second year at the business.
There we go. That's great. You guys are growing pretty good for a second year.
Yeah, it's been exciting. It's keeping me busy.
I bet so. So Adam, for those customers who are prospective customers who are looking to purchase from you, you can just go on your website and see all the different locations that you guys provide potting mixes to.
Yep, if you need a bag, check out our retailers in the area on our website. If you're looking for one of these bigger tote bags, like maybe you're a bigger farm, you're getting ready to fill up a bunch of containers in your greenhouse or something, give us a call, shoot me an email, and we can get you the price sheet and get you some product.
There we go. I'll be providing his information in the show notes below, so make sure you check it out. Like I said, his has been the best potting mix by far that I have ever used, so make sure you get yours.